Most AI consultants won't tell you this, because if they did, it would put the blame where it actually belongs. Not on the technology, not on the vendor, not on the model, on leadership. 70% of AI projects fail, and most of them fail before a single line of code is ever written. I've sat on boardrooms where executives greenlight a multi-million-dollar AI initiatives. I've watched the presentations. I've even created the roadmaps, and I can pinpoint and tell you exactly when the project was already dead. It's the moment when no one asked the right questions. So today, I'm going to show you what those questions are. And more importantly, I'm going to tell you what happens when you skip those questions. I spent years working at one of the top consulting firms in the world. I was part of their data and AI practice. I've done some big enterprise transformation within the financial institution, healthcare industry, pharmaceutical, government, mining, utilities, so on and so forth. I've run a Gen AI strategy workshop. I've sat with C-suite levels. I've seen what works, but more importantly, I see what quietly collapses. And there's a pattern every single time. Let me tell you a company that I worked with. I won't name their name, but trust me, you've heard about them. They came in all excited. They had a mandate from their board. They had a budget. They had a vendor proposal already lined up. They wanted to implement generative AI across their operations, automate decisions, speed up their workflows, drive efficiency. So before they even signed a contract with their system integrator, I sat down with their leadership team. So AKA the C-suite, the people making those calls. And I asked them one question. What problem are we actually trying to solve? Not what looks good in a board presentation, not what the vendor pitched to you. What is the real friction in the organization that AI is trying to solve? And I was met with silence. And it wasn't because they didn't care. It's because they didn't define it yet. They had really big ambitions, but they didn't have their problem statement. And that was red flag number one. But they decided to keep going. They signed a contract with their vendor. They didn't want to be stalled. So we got into the engagement and I decided to dig deeper. So we run functional workshop with the teams that actually live in the process. So that's your managers, the analysts, the people whose jobs the technology is supposed to change. And that's when it really started to unravel. So I ask, are your existing processes actually designed to support this kind of change? Or are we about to automate something nobody fully understands yet? So I was met with a very long pause, but also, we're working on it. And then I ask the ultimate question that changes every single conversation I ever have with leaders. Do you trust your data? Does your team trust the data? Not that they need to have perfect data, not that they need to have a data warehouse, but do your people, your managers, your analysts, your senior managers, your executives, your decision makers actually trust the data enough to act on it? And then one of the senior leaders looked at me and told me, honestly, no, we don't even know where half of it comes from. And that's the moment I told them and said, you don't have an AI strategy problem. You have a data governance problem. You're about to build a multi-million-dollar AI initiative on top of a foundation that nobody trusts or doesn't exist. Let that sink. And here's the thing, the conversation wasn't unique to them. I've had the same version of that conversation across multiple industries, across different company sizes, across different geographies, different logos, same problems. And every single time I trace back where AI initiative stalls, underperforms, or got quietly shut down. And I come back to the same three things that were skipped entirely or things that were clearly an afterthought. Change management, process readiness, and data readiness. Or some people might say your people, your process, your technology. Most organizations think they're doing all three, but they're definitely not. And I'm going to tell you, what does that actually look like? Change management. And here's what I've noticed. Most organizations don't skip change management by accident. They skip it on purpose. Someone in that boardroom decided it wasn't worth the spend. That change management is HR and that the technology will speak for itself. Wrong. That decision is usually the beginning of an end. And here's what change management actually is and what organizations get wrong. It's not your email campaign. It's not your town hall. It's not that slide in your implementation deck that says communication plan. Change management is whether leadership have done the actual work of preparing people for how their decisions, responsibilities, day-to-day work will actually shift. It's asking, does every person affected by this technology understands what's changing for them and what is the benefit? If the answer is no, adoption dies. Quietly, slowly, expensively. Process readiness. So this one's sneaky because organizations think that they're ready because they have documentation. Process readiness is not about documentation. It's understanding where work actually slows down, where human judgment is required, and where AI could generally support rather than complicate how people operate. If you automate a broken process, you will get a faster broken process. And data readiness, and this is what actually kills most projects. Data readiness is not having the perfect data, beautiful dashboards. Clean data does not mean having flawless data. It means knowing where your data comes from, who's accountable, and whether your organization trusts it enough to make decisions. If your leaders don't trust the data, they will never trust the AI output. And here's what I want you to take away from this. AI readiness is not a technical problem. It's an organization one. The technology works, the model works, the vendors, for most part, deliver what they promise. What doesn't work is when organizations expect the technology to outpace their current maturity. When the tool moves faster than the people, adoption stalls. When adoption lags behind capability, trust erodes. When trust erodes, value disappears quietly, and nobody wants to admit it happened. Real transformation only happens when technology, people, and process evolve together, not in sequence, together. And that's the difference between a company that gets ROI from AI and a company that has a very expensive pilot that nobody talks about anymore. So, before your company greenlights another AI initiative, before you sign another vendor contract, before you build another roadmap, ask yourself this: is your company ready to admit what it's not ready for? Because the companies that are winning with AI right now, it's not the ones with the biggest budgets or the most sophisticated models. They're the ones who slowed down enough to answer the hard question first. That's a conversation that most people won't start, but I will. If you want to go deeper in any of this, data governance, change management, AI strategy, sequencing, this is exactly what this channel is about. Subscribe because we're just getting started.